All right, here are some solutions to the Chapter 11 review where we are working on quadratic equations and quadratic functions. So I'm not going to necessarily do them all, but we'll get through a few here. So solving these guys up here, we have, we want to solve for x squared. We notice we don't have any other terms here. We don't have any x terms. So let's just get the 5 out of there. 36x squared equals 5. We want to divide by the 36, and we've got x squared equals 5 over 36. Let's take a square root of both sides, and we end up with x equals, don't forget your plus or minus. We're going to square root the top, and we know the square root of the bottom is 6. Square root of 36 is 6. So we'll leave it at that. No need to rationalize because it already is. Over here, we want to get that x squared all by itself, so let's add 6 to both sides. And we end up with 2 times x minus 6 squared equals 6. Let's divide by 2. We want to get that squared thing all by itself. There we have it. We're going to square roots. And we got x minus 6 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. 2 answers there. Let's add 6 to both sides. Add 6. And so we have x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 3. Remember, that means 2 answers. 6 plus the square root of 3 and 6 minus the square root of 3. We want exact answers here, like we were stated in the directions up top here, exact answers. So leave it with the square root. Here we're all ready for some, no, we're actually not, sorry. Thought we were ready for some grouping. But we need to distribute here. So let's clean it up first. Distribute this guy here, 4x squared minus 8x. Distribute the negative 3x. Don't forget that negative. 3x squared minus 3x equals negative 18. Let's combine like terms. That gives us x squared minus 11x equals negative 18. And let's add that 18. We want to get this equal to 0. We want to put it in standard form. 11x plus 18 equals 0. Now we're going to look for a way to factor two numbers that add to negative 11 and multiply to 18. And I believe that those are negative 2 and negative 9. And so we set two equations here, either x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 9 equals 0. So we have x equals 2 or x equals 9, and we need both of those answers. There we have it. Number 4 here, we want to factor it if we can. Two numbers that add to 2, multiply to 3. Oh, they don't exist. So we need to solve this. We can find different ways. We can use the completing the square. We can try the quadratic formula, which would probably be the way that we would prefer. Completing the square is fine. We need to know how to complete the square. Okay, be prepared on the test to complete the square. But we got a quadratic formula. Got to have it down. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So feel free to sing the song during the test. So we end up with negative 2 plus or minus, and we've got 4 minus 12 all over 2. Well, 4 minus 12 is negative. Let's try that again. Negative 8 all over 2. That negative is going to come out as an I here. So we're going to have negative 2 plus or minus. We're going to have an I because of the negative. Now the square root of 8 is 4 times 2. So the square root of 4 we can do. Okay, so remember the square root of 8 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, which is 2 square root of 2. So let's replace that with 2 square root of 2, all over 2. Now we're going to divide here. Watch out. The only dividing we can do is if we can divide both ways, because we're really factoring out this 2. factoring out a 2 for both of these and then canceling it. So you've got to cancel with both terms up top, and that leaves us with -1 plus or minus the I square root of 2. And this canceled, the 2 did, so we'll just leave it alone. There's our answer. 2 answers, the plus or minus. Quadratic equation here, we want to set it equal to 0. So let's subtract the 2x and the 5, and we got x squared minus 2x minus 5. Are there two numbers that add to -2 and multiply to 5 or -5? No, there is not. So we need to use a quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. And so we have x equals 2 plus or minus, this comes out to be 4, and this is going to be 20. 4 plus 20. Watch out for that negative. So this is going to be a square root of 24 all over 2. Square root of 24 is going to be the square root of 4 times the square root of 6, which we know is 2 squared is 6 all over 2. And this 2 cancels both ways. 2 goes into all 3 of these here, divides both of them, and that gives us 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 root 6 divided by 2 is root 6. There you have it. Now let's go ahead and let's complete the square on number 6 here, just for good practice. To complete the square, we need to subtract 8 from both sides. By the way, check to see if there's two numbers that add to -4 and multiply to 8, and there are not. So subtract 8, we want to get this all by itself. Now we need to complete the square by adding half of this squared. Half of -4 is 2. Let's put it over here. -4 divided by 2 squared, that's going to be 2 squared, which is 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides, and so we end up with x squared, minus 4x plus 4 equals -4. This factors into x minus 2 squared. Okay, and we set it up to make sure that happened, and then we want to square root both sides. And so when we square root, we get x minus 2 equals, now there's going to be there's a negative there, so there's going to be an I. Square root of 4 we know is 2, and don't forget your plus or minus. So finally we add 2 to both sides, and we have x equals 2 plus or minus 2i, which represents 2 answers. We have 2 plus 2i and 2 minus 2i. So 2 answers there. Okay. Number 7 here, we can distribute. And we're going to clean it up first. 6x squared plus 6x. Distribute everything, we should get this. Then let's combine like terms and set it equal to 0. So we get, let's see, -12x squared. Oh, that's nice. The x's go away. I like that. Subtract 10 from both sides. Actually, we didn't necessarily need to do that because the x's go away. So let's go ahead and put it back. Let's say goodbye. Let's put the 10 back. We don't need to set it equal to 0 because the x's went away. We're just going to use the square root method. -12, divide both sides by -12. X squared equals, this is going to simplify to -5/6. We'll just throw the negative upstairs. Let's square root this. And so we have x equals, we've got a plus or minus. Now we got a negative, so we're going to have an I. We're going to have the square root of 5 over the square root of 6. We don't want to leave the square root of 6 down there. So multiply by the square root of 6 over the square root of 6 to rationalize the denominator. And that's going to leave us with x equals plus or minus I times the square root of 30, because 5 times 6 is 30, all over 6. Or we might write it like this, plus or minus square root of 30 over 6i. All right.